Alright y'all, today I'm hyped as fuck because we are talking about two of my favorite characters in all of One Piece, King and Katakuri, the GOATs, two of the drippiest characters in the series. Well, mainly in this video, I wanted to talk about the two stats, Devil Fruit Mastery, Haki Mastery, and then I'll go over how I think a fight between the two would go. Starting off with physical stats. As the first in commands for both the Big Mom and Beast Pirates, it's clear that besides the Admirals and Yonko, King and Katakuri are two of the most powerful characters in all of One Piece. Now, Katakuri's physical stats are no joke by any means, and I honestly think the guy gets downplayed a little bit. This is due to the fact that a character like Whole Cake Island Luffy, a character that pretty much scales to Katakuri, kind of just got one-shot by Kaido. This is true, and it's definitely an anti-feat, but it doesn't necessarily mean Katakuri is just a weakling. For one, Luffy was pretty clearly enraged and took a direct hit from Kaido, and was probably not in the same mental state as someone like Rooftop Zoro, for example. More importantly, however, I don't know about y'all, but I see Black Lightning on this panel. Black Lightning to me means Advanced Conqueror's Haki, and if he's using that, I'm sorry, but Whole Cake Island Luffy, Katakuri, and Flame Off King are all not tanking that hit. Let's be real. In regards to Katakuri's durability and endurance, according to at least Reddit, he fought for around 12 hours, most of his time completely destroying Luffy, and close to the end of the fight, the man literally stabbed himself in the chest to make the fight more fair. Now you might be asking, Alan, why are you going through so much to explain Katakuri's stats? Well, it's because he gets destroyed here. King the Wildfire probably has the best all-around stats of any first commander. Due to being Lunarian, the man gets to fly, something that I argue is going to be a huge asset in this fight, but the man also possesses the ability to ignite. With this ability, King essentially has two forms, Flame On and Flame Off. Now, what do these two forms do? Flame On, he is Kaido levels of durability. Might even be downplaying him saying that. At least base Kaido levels of durability is kind of a downplay, because Enma Zoro made Kaido have to dodge, and then he couldn't pierce King. That's fucking insane, and better than anything Katakuri has shown easily. So how do you hurt King? Well, Flame Off King has increased speeds, but his durability is lowered, so you can still do damage to the guy. It's unsure whether King can keep his flame on all the time. It seems like it can't be on all the time, but it's really hard to say. He turned his flame off and he lost against Zoro. That's all that matters. The flame abilities don't end there though, as King is able to control fire, his most powerful attack being his Flame Dragon move, which literally has him create magma-like fire. While it's unclear just how powerful this move is, I'd be willing to bet it at least does a little bit of damage to Katakuri. I think we can all agree on that. Essentially what I'm trying to say is King is insane, Lunarians are insane, and let's be honest, I don't think anyone's surprised that King actually won on physical stats here. I mean, the guy's just a monster. Now talking about Haki, this is a much more interesting debate in my opinion. I think we can all agree that with at least observation Haki, Katakuri completely outclasses. He's one of the few feature site users that we know of, and this is probably going to be Katakuri's greatest asset against King, and will probably help make up for any speed differences between the two. There's also one thing I'm going to say, unless Katakuri somehow awakens Advanced Conqueror's Haki in his fight against King, Conquerors isn't going to do anything in this fight. It's a non-factor, let's be real here. What's really interesting though is a conversation on the two's armament Haki. Now Katakuri's definitely isn't bad, as he pretty handedly overpowered a pre-Snake Man Luffy. But if we're being real, what I think really holds back Katakuri is that he couldn't beat Luffy before he gained the power-ups of Snake Man and Future Sight. Now I'm not going to deny that Luffy has insane willpower and can get back up in pretty much any fight, but let's be real, for Katakuri not being able to defeat a character that to some extent struggled against Doflamingo and Cracker, it's not really a good look for the guy. Now in comparison, whether it was also from King's race, his armament Haki, or a mixture of the both, the guy was clashing and at times overpowering Zoro, the same guy who did this, and this, and this. So at the very least, I'd say King and Katakuri are relative in armament, but I'm much more comfortable saying that King could probably best Katakuri in an armament fight. As a whole, however, I think I would give the Haki edge to Katakuri just because of the Future Sight. He's the only one of the two to have an advanced form of Haki, so I think it's just fair to give it to Katakuri for this one. On to Devil Fruits. Now this topic is really fun to talk about, mainly because I genuinely think these two are some of the most seasoned and skilled users of their specific Devil Fruit types. In my opinion, King's Ancient Zoan is just as good, if not better, than some mythical Zoans. Whether that's from the fruit just being really OP or King being an amazing user, up to you. I think it's a mixture of both. From the fact he can use his wings like blades, to the insane speed and power boost the guy gets from this ability, to what I would consider to be one of the most broken abilities in all of One Piece, the man's Tempura Udon, whatever it's called. With this ability, the man gains a huge range advantage, able to shoot his head back with such insane speed that an observation Haki user like Zoro, someone who I need to remind you went up against Kaido and Big Mom, compared this ability to the speeds of a laser beam. If I'm being honest, this is where King shines the most, as this ability combined with his flight advantage makes it nearly impossible impossible for a character like Katakuri to even reach the guy. I've said it time and time again, but if King just kept using this ability, instead of fighting Zoro at close range, Zoro would have had a significantly more difficult time beating King, and you could actually make an argument that King could have won the fight. To be honest though, Katakuri also has insane Devil Fruit mastery, which shines especially when compared with his future sight. Katakuri is so skilled with his Mochi Fruit that some people thought it was a Logia Devil Fruit, considering he has the ability to create holes in his body to like not take damage from hits. While this isn't perfect, as he did obviously start taking damage from Luffy, still a decent factor and shows his insane mastery with his fruit. Off the top, I'll probably just give Devil Fruit mastery to Katakuri, almost solely due to the fact that he's awakened and King isn't. Honestly, I can see an argument for either or, and I assure you, King has multiple ways to make up for this. Now, considering everything we've talked about, how would a fight between King and Katakuri actually go down? There are a couple things to note. I don't think either character is differing greatly in factors like experience and battle IQ. They're roughly the same age, they're both Yonko First Commanders. Let's just say they're both highly experienced and very smart. So this fight has a lot of factors. The most important one I think is actually location. I'll say it right now, if this is an outdoors fight and King has the ability to fly wherever he wants, King probably wins. Like I mentioned prior, that laser beam ability is disgustingly OP, and while Katakuri could avoid it for a while, he doesn't even have similar levels of range to Zoro. So if King kept spamming those, they're eventually hitting and Katakuri is eventually going down. I will say King probably wouldn't fight like that just because for whatever reason he didn't do it against Zoro. So if he fought the exact same way against Zoro, it's a much more interesting fight. If it was in somewhere a little more enclosed, like Brulee's Mirror World, I think this is a really interesting fight. Basically, I see Katakuri performing similarly to pre-advanced Conqueror Zoro, the only difference being that I actually see Katakuri performing slightly better. As one, his speed and future sight is most likely more than enough to at the very least match King in speed, and two, while King using his own sword to disarm Zoro is incredibly hindering for the swordsman, Katakuri has shown time and time again that he doesn't need to depend on his trident in a similar way. So Katakuri's win condition is obvious for this fight. Figure out why King takes no fucking damage, and once you realize it's because of the flame on his back, land as many hits as you can while the flame is off. Do I think Katakuri could do it? For sure. And I actually think King would be more likely to fight Katakuri and flame off just to match the future sight, plus, let's be honest, relative to Snake Man levels of speed. But really, the final question I have in regards to this debate is whether Katakuri can tank King's final Flame Dragon ability. I don't know. If it lands directly, I could definitely see it taking down Katakuri. The only thing I really have defending Katakuri is that he did fight Luffy for around 12 hours, which is like pretty good on endurance, and you could argue durability as well. But if we're being fair and being honest with ourselves, Luffy was far weaker than both Katakuri and King for most of that fight. So all this to say, I don't really know. I think if we include an outdoor King, he wins more often than not. But in general, I think if we don't put a controller up King's ass and make him do the exact moves we want him to do, I honestly see King winning, but it's like a 60-40 extreme diff fight. And as a little bonus, if you want my headcanon argument for this, I'd actually say these two are pretty much equals and have most likely fought before. I think it's because of the relationship between Big Mom and Kaido. It'd be shocking if while the two Yonkos were fighting, their first commanders haven't dueled in the past as well. This is definitely headcanon, but just a thought. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, do all that jazz. Check out this video right over here where I talk about controversial One Piece opinions, and I will see y'all later.